Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with the local station.
Hello there, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of Going Ringside. I am your host, Scott Johnson. Excited to talk about River City Wrestling Con, a big preview on this episode. So you know what's coming to North Florida this weekend, the biggest stars of all time, like Trish Stratus, Sting, and so many more. Get to it in a bit. Before we do, I want to talk about last week's episode. Go check it out right now. A true crime episode on Billy Jack Haynes. We discussed the murder charges that were filed against the former 1980s star just a few months ago and where that case is right now. He's been accused of murdering his wife. Go check out the previous episode right now. You can watch it and get everything you need to know about this high-profile news-making murder case that has rocked the wrestling world on the last episode. So today, we are talking about something that is going to be a big centerpiece going forward on Going Ringside all summer long. That would be River City Wrestling Con, the biggest stars ever in wrestling. Coming to North Florida, we're going to be a part of it here. We're Going Ringside, talking a lot of the biggest stars. In just a little bit, we're going to be joined by Nick Batay. Nick is the guy who makes this all possible. He's the Jacksonville booker who put all this together and has brought in these huge stars. I want to talk about some of them who will be here at World Golf Village. If you're watching this before June 8th and 9th, this Saturday and Sunday, as I tape this today, huge names coming to World Golf Village. You can go see them. You can go meet them and greet them. Going to be excited. We're going to talk to Nick in just a little bit later on. We're going to talk to the family of Leon Shaw. Leon Shaw was a journeyman boxer who was trained by, get this, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer of all time, trained him. He lived in our area in Northeast Florida, passed away just a few weeks ago. So I invited his daughter, Tracy Daniels Dixon, to come on the show with us and talk a little about her dad, who was trained by Muhammad Ali, fought guys like Larry Holmes. So he was there in the greatest boxing generation ever. He was right in the middle of it. We're going to have her on a little later in the show. But first, I want to talk about River City Wrestling Con. It is quickly becoming, I would say, definitely top 5 fan conventions in the United States for pro wrestling. It has been growing year after year after year. I went years ago when they had the NWO there with Hall and Nash and X-Pac, or Six-Pac, Sean Waltman. They had Bret Hart back in the day. Then we were there last year, had so many big stars. Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam was there. We had Ron Simmons live on the show with us. And now they're back this year with new stars who have never been here before, like Sting, right after he retired from pro wrestling. Trish Stratus is going to be here. Mick Foley, Booker T, Jerry the King Lawler. The list goes on and on and on. There is so many stars coming to World Golf Village this weekend. You got to go out and see him. So I wanted to dedicate this show to River City Wrestling Con, have Nick Batay on. He's the guy who put all this together, started as a young man and has grown this into one of the juggernauts for the country of pro wrestling events, for fan conventions. Thousands and thousands of people are going to be at World Golf Village. You do not want to miss seeing the greatest stars in the history of the industry we call pro wrestling this weekend in St. Augustine for the first time, not in Jacksonville. They moved it down to World Golf Village, going to be a much better fan experience than what we've seen in years past. So it is the place to be if you like wrestling in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, or today. They will have stars from every generation. You don't want to miss it. So let's get to our interview right now with the guy who put all this together, the guy who organized our River City Wrestling Con, is Nick Batay. Here he is. So we're overjoyed to be joined by the promoter of this whole event, Nick Batay with River City Wrestling Con. Nick, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, Scott. I'm always honored to be here.
And we're kind of having matching shirts, which is good because we're kind of media partners for this whole thing. And Nick, I got to say, this is the small version of the amount of guests they have. There's actually a bigger grid out there with even more guests, but it's huge, Huge star-studded event you guys have put together, Nick, this year. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, it's definitely our biggest lineup today, and we are expecting our largest attendance to date as well. It's going to be a great time.
So before we talk about the guests, we got to talk about, for the viewers, this is not in downtown Jacksonville anymore. You guys moved south to World Golf Village. Tell me all about the new venue, why you guys made that decision, and what fans can expect this year.
Of course. So last year, of course, you were with us hosting the Q&As for the very first time, and just due to the incredible fan response that we've had over the past few years of running it, we had to make the decision to move it to a larger space, and conveniently enough, it was at the World Golf Village in St. Augustine. We do hope at some point we'll be back in Jacksonville, but for the time being, we're excited to be in St. Augustine.
So World Golf Village, you guys are quickly, you started this, which I still am fascinated by your story. A college kid, I think it was, you were at the time when you started all this, start bringing in the biggest names from around the country, and now you've grown to the biggest one in Florida, one of the biggest wrestling conventions in the country, really. How did this happen? How did we in North Florida really grow at this size?
Of course. So, just in my experience as a teenager, I'd volunteer at events frequently, and I just got the idea to run a convention that was focused on the fandom of professional wrestling. And we started our first one in 2019, and ever since then, we've just, been studying the industry and just working to accumulate the biggest lineup we can in order to give the fans a great experience.
So let's get to the lineup. Huge lineup. Let's start at the top. Two of your headliners this year, I think both are first time here, Sting and Trish Stratus. Amazing. Let's start with Sting. Talk to me about Sting being here, when fans can see him, that type of thing.
Right, so Sting will be appearing only on Sunday. He will be appearing from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. We're just excited to have Sting, especially with this being his retirement year. Yeah. I don't think he's made a personal appearance in Florida, or rather in Jacksonville or the North Florida area to this date. And the fan response we've gotten has just been incredible. I mean, everybody's coming in, they're celebrating Sting's career, and he's inspired so many people to be a wrestling fan. So it's going to be a very exciting celebration of his career.
Another huge name, first time here, I believe, Trish Stratus. Talk to me all about Trish's visit.
Yeah, Trish Stratus, I think the last time she was in this area, she was actually on Raw last year feuding with Becky Lynch.
I was at the event, I saw it, yeah.
Right, it was incredible to land Trish Stratus. I think we have probably the largest collective of female wrestlers to date. We have her, she's gonna be doing a Q&A, and she'll be accompanied by Lita at the signing as well, and Mickie James. So we're gonna have kind of like the holy trinity of women's wrestling, so to speak.
Before we move forward with more guests, I wanna talk about our Q&As. So I will be there, so excited to host a lot of the question answer sessions, which you can sit down and watch live in person. Let's talk about those first. So first, let's start with Trish. Trish will be doing one where fans can come out, listen to her talk, all that type of thing.
Right, of course, Trish Stratus will be the feature Q&A for Saturday. We also have Booker T doing a Q&A. And on Sunday, we have some of the stars from the Wrestler show on Netflix, Al Snow, Tiffany Nieves, and Haley J. They'll be reuniting to discuss just the impact of that series overall. Hacksaw Jim Duggan will be doing a Q&A as well. And we have a few more.
Sorry, had to do it. Go ahead.
Of course, and we have a few more that are going to be we're waiting to announce sometime next week as well. So it's going to be a lot of, and the Hardys. The Hardys,
and one that I'm really looking forward to, a little controversial, Eric Bischoff. Is that still on?
That's right. Eric Bischoff will be doing a Q&A on Sunday as well.
I'm really looking forward to the Bischoff one. He's controversy creates cash, and Eric Bischoff creates controversy everywhere he goes, so we're looking forward to that. So in addition, we're going to be doing all these Q&As with the big stars here, but I want to talk about some of the others. One I'm excited about is Jerry the King Lawler. We're going to see Lawler here, the King, arguably the greatest color commentator of all time.
Right, and it's great to have Jerry the King Lawler back. He took a break from doing fan conventions for quite some time. It's one of his first ones back.
And one right next to Sting, kind of arguably his best friend throughout the years, Lex Luger will be here. We'll see Lex here.
Right. We didn't expect to land a Sting and Lex reunion, but it's going to be a lot of fun. They'll be right next to each other in the signing area, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of camaraderie there.
So I'm looking at some of the guys who have been here before. I'm seeing old school guys: Abdullah the Butcher, Jimmy Hart, Sergeant Slaughter. If you liked wrestling in the 70s and 80s, this is the convention for you. Is that right?
Right, and I remember at one point, Sarge mentioned he spent some time in the Jacksonville area, just residing here, and he was quite familiar with a lot of the locations around town.
So beyond that, talk to me about, it's not just the old school guys, which I'm a huge fan of the old school guys. new, young, modern, current stars. Talk to me about some of the young current stars who are also going to be here.
Right, so one upstart we have is Mariah May. She's been making waves on AEW television as of late.
She's kind of Tony Storm's cohort. We had Tony on the show a little bit ago. Yeah, Mariah May will be great.
Right, we have her appearing. As I mentioned, the OVW cast will be coming in. They've been doing such an outstanding job since the success of that show rising up on the indie wrestling scene. And some will actually be wrestling live as well at the convention.
So let's look at some of the others. So Mariah May, I see the Devon Dudley will be back. I see Sean Waltman will be back, X-Pac or Six-Pac. So Sean Waltman, that's a pretty big get too. He's always been good at this event.
Absolutely, he was actually one of our first ever headline guests at our very first convention. We had Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and X-Pac doing a NWO reunion.
That was the first time I ever went. It was my favorite thing. So we go in, and I corner Nash with a video camera. Hall and Waltman kind of back behind the curtain because they're like, they don't want to do all the press. But yeah, so that was your big one when you guys had that NWO reunion. That was huge.
Oh, it was huge, and it was what really kind of kick-started this convention as well. So we're always happy to welcome back Sean Waltman. And another good current guy we have on there is formerly known as Elias. Currently, he is Elijah. He'll be coming in right off of his WWE run, and we bring in his acoustic guitar. He might even play a few songs, but
yeah.
We're still waiting to see.
So I want to know all about logistics for people when they arrive. Tell me about parking, tickets, availability, all the stuff that people need to know. Right now, they've got a few days to plan. What do they need to know if they don't already have their tickets? They don't know about parking. What do they need to know?
Of course, so parking is free, and that's for the whole weekend. VIPs are entered in at 10 a.m. General admission opens at 11. Tickets are incredibly scarce right now. They're very limited, and we do expect at least one, if not two, ticket levels to sell out before the convention. So do know if you plan on getting tickets at the door, it's not guaranteed. We highly encourage all fans to get in advance, especially now.
How do they do that? Where do they go to get their advance tickets?
So tickets are available at rivercitywrestlingcon.com/tickets. They can go there and they can view also on our website as well the full schedule of events, both days. They can view the current lineup. Kids 10 and under, of course, are free with adult admission, and Q&A sessions as well are free for all attendees.
Now, I have a problem when I run to these guys. I mark out like a fanboy huge. Do you have that problem? Because I do.
It's from my level, because we're running the operation. We're so focused on making sure the fans have the best experience possible. But it is, I think, like, just as a promoter, I think one experience for me was whenever we had Bret Hart a few years ago. I was walking him to the entranceway, and whenever his music hit, because one of the things that we do with all the guests is they all make like a small entrance before they go to the signing table, and I just remember the curtain opening up and just hear like the reaction of the crowd just hit you in person.
Oh, that reminds me, there will be live wrestling at the event. Tell me about that.
Right, so live wrestling will be going on both days, pretty much all day. We have some incredible matches. The main event for Sunday will be Bobby Fish taking on local icon John Davis and Bojack in a triple threat match to close out Sunday. And then also on Saturday, we have Tiffany Nieves, who I mentioned was currently on OVW, featured on the Netflix series. She'll be defending the Mission Pro Championship against Ruthie J and Scotty Sosa, also in a triple threat match.
One thing that fascinates me about these events is how approachable the wrestlers are. When you think of celebrities, they're many times not approachable. That's not the case with these wrestlers. I mean, you go up, you take the picture, you chat with them. It really is a great fan experience, is it not?
Of course, and I think that's one of the things that differs us from a lot of the comic conventions. Is it's more than just going to a signing, get to interact with your favorite wrestlers. They always take time to listen to your stories, share some stories of their own, and just make it a very fulfilling event.
Well, Nick Batey, River City Wrestling Con, thanks so much for joining us. I'm looking forward to this weekend. It is going to be packed. Don't miss it. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you, Scott.
So as you heard us mention, we are going to be, a centerpiece of this. Going Ringside will be there. I'm going to be doing all the Q&As with like Trish and Booker T, Eric Bischoff, as we talked about. Very excited about. Come out and see me. I'd love to meet you. We're trying to get to know our fans in person. We'd love to see you out at River City Wrestling Con. We will be all over the place. I will be hosting all these things, talking to the stars, and then, of course, in coming weeks, bringing them to you here on the show. So definitely don't miss it. June 8th and 9th, World Golf Village. The other interview I want to talk about on this show, talk a little about boxing. So Leon Shaw started boxing in the 1960s, trained by Muhammad Ali himself, had a great career as a journeyman wrestler, fighting guys like Larry Holmes back in the day. Finally hung it up after many years in the ring, and then just weeks ago he passed away, and his family said they kind of wanted to tell the story of their dad. He was in boxing during the greatest time in boxing's history, essentially trained by arguably the most famous athlete to ever live, Muhammad Ali. Very possibly the most famous athlete to ever live. And he was trained by Muhammad Ali and became a close friend with him, and we talk about that about the interview. So wanted to get to it. This is the family of boxing journeyman Leon Shaw. This is his daughter, Tracy Daniels Dixon, and we wanted to bring her on the show to talk a little about her dad and his historic run in the most historic time of boxing. Well, we're joined now by Tracy Daniels Dixon, whose father was Leon Shaw. Tracy, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tell me about your dad. He kind of had a pretty good boxing history back in the day, it sounds like.
Yes, he did. He started back in, I think it was 1960s, in the early 60s. He boxed with Larry Holmes, and Muhammad Ali was his trainer. That was his life. He loved boxing.
That's incredible. Did he tell you guys about that as you were growing up? I mean, how did you learn about what your dad had done?
Yes, sir. He always talked about it. Of course, he had new pictures, as well as pictures with Muhammad Ali in the ring. That's him and Muhammad. I don't know if you could see it.
Okay, yeah, very cool.
Yes.
So, yeah, he pretty much was fighting with the greatest boxers of all time. That's incredible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so he recently passed away. Tell me a little about your dad, how old he was, where he was born, all that.
Yes, he was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1948. He lived there all his life. Of course, he traveled to box. Unfortunately, he took sick a few months ago, maybe in November.
Yeah.
And he ended up moving with me. Yes, sir.
And tell me about his boxing career. How long was he boxing for?
From 1961
Okay, yeah.
to 1981.
Wow, he boxed 20 years. That's incredible.
Yes, he did. Yes, sir.
Did it damage him at all? You know, I hear somebody, Muhammad Ali went through that, or did he stay in pretty good health after he retired in 81?
He stayed in pretty good health. Of course, when he did take sick, they did see some bruises on the brain from boxing.
Oh, really? Really?
Yes,
what was
sir.
it? What was it like for him to know, to go through that time with Ali and the other greats? I mean, particularly Muhammad Ali, to be trained by him. I mean, that must have just been an incredible time for him.
He thought the world of it. I mean, he always talked about it, even in sickness. You know, he would talk about boxing and his time with Muhammad Ali, and that was his friend. But he fought Larry Holmes. He fought John Baca, Ernie Smith, Jimmy Abbott. I can go on. He had a great career, though, with boxing.
Talk to me about his relationship with Ali. So Ali trained him, and you say they were friends.
Yes, they were friends. He's inside the Muhammad Ali movie. He's jumping the rope in the Muhammad Ali movie.
Okay.
But yes, him and Muhammad Ali, like I said, they were, together a lot.
What did he say he learned from the greatest of all time? Did he say any stories or anything that he really took away from his time with
my husband? Probably can tell you a little bit about that part.
Yeah, he can come on in. Yeah. How are you, sir? What's your name?
Robert Dixon.
Thank you for joining us, Robert. Talk to me about, did he learn anything, any stories during his time with the Muhammad Ali?
Yes, sir. He told quite a bit of stories about Muhammad Ali, and one thing that he loved to do is he used to love to mock what he used to say. And he was telling me that how Muhammad Ali was showing him how to do certain maneuvers when he's in the ring. So, you know, he took quite a few learnings from Muhammad Ali.
Did they ever keep in touch? Because Muhammad Ali, you know, his health started to deteriorate later in life, but he was still, you know, doing pretty well, quite well through the 90s and early 2000s, I believe. Did they ever keep in touch?
At first they did. They kept in touch at first, and then as life progresses on with them, you know, for some reason they got disconnected from one another.
Did he follow boxing after that? Because after he would have retired is when we started getting people like Marvin Hagler, and Mike Tyson. Did he kind of keep following boxing as he got older, or is he like in 81, I'm done with it?
No, he followed it to the day he passed away.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Unfortunately, he resigned early because he was stuck in the eye with a thumb by Larry Holmes.
Really?
So, yes, that caused him to leave early. Yes, sir, because he went blind in that eye.
Yeah. What was he like? I mean, I never know what the fighters are like in real life. You see them in the ring, so you think they're these tough guys and mean and all that. You're shaking your head. That's probably not your dad.
No. He was so loving. He was kind. Always wanted to help someone. He just had the biggest heart. Yes, sir, he did. But, you know, at the end of life, before he closed his eyes, he lifted up his hands and he said, if I can just knock one more person out, you know, he just loved it, the ring, you know. Yes, sir.
Well, Tracy Dixon, thanks for letting me know about your dad, Leon Shaw. Sorry about the loss, but we really appreciate you coming on to tell us his story.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
So I want to thank our two guests today, Tracy Daniels Dixon and her dad, Leon Shaw, who just passed away. And then, of course, Nick Batey, the guy who put River City Wrestling Con together. If you see this before June 8th, come see us at World Golf Village. I'd love to talk to you in person. Trying to get to know our fans out there, and we are going to be with the stars. Excited interview. Trish, Booker T, Eric Bischoff. That'll be a very interesting interview. So we look forward to seeing it. And still, try and get out there if you can. World Golf Village, it is the place to be if you like wrestling from any generation. People from all over the country are coming in for this major event in Northeast Florida, and we hope to see you there. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Going Ringside. I'm Scott Johnson, and we'll see you back here next time.
This has been Going Ringside with the local station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on New Sport Jacks Plus, as well as the New Sport Jacks YouTube channel.